We live in the tri-state region where budgets for schools are calculated many different ways in different states and different counties. And it just so happens that today is the day for the Region 1 budget vote. It is a budget that is a little over $14 million. And that budget vote will take place from noon until 8 o'clock at polling stations at town halls across our region. But we are also talking budgets out of the Webutuck School District, and we have the superintendent, Ray Castellani, who is joining us once again this morning. Ray, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Marshall. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's hard to compare because the states do their budget fixings different ways. In New York, the calculations are different. In Connecticut, but the calculation is the same all over. Money is tight, and money has been tight for quite a while in our region. First things first, Ray, and this is what I don't understand, and you can get this along to me. I looked at the budget presentation that you sent me that people in Webutuck have received, and the thing that's popped out on my eyes is the following. What does this mean for your tax rates? And you have the tax rates for 2018 and 19, the current scenario, at $12.43 per thousand. For 2019 and 2020, the proposed levy, even though it's a higher levy, it is a lower tax rate at $10.38. So, I mean, these are the complications that I talked about. So let's talk about your budget, how it can be a higher levy and yet lower per taxpayer.
Absolutely. It is definitely a formula that can confuse many people. In fact, at times I have to look at myself in the mirror and say, do I really understand it? Because it always seems to be that there's some type of catch to it or formula that definitely makes you think differently. So it is very complex. As you had said, that there is a current tax rate, which is $12.43 per $1,000. So that means people that own a $100,000 assessed value home would use that, divide that by 1,000, and then use the current tax rate of $12.43 to come up approximately of what their annual school tax bill would be. So on that type of home, it would be about $1,243. This year, and then strategically done so, the Board of Education Administration have been working with the town of Amenia and the assessors in Amenia, and with the large property that has come on the tax rolls of Silo Ridge. What has happened is that coming on board, and it's upwards of over $300 million, which goes into the pool of money to pay for the tax levy. That actually lowers the average homeowner's or average taxpayer's tax rate this year, even though our levy is a little higher, and again, strategically chosen because we wanted to do it hand in glove with when this property came on board. It actually lowers the rate to about $10.38, and it could be anywhere between $10.38 and $12.43. It'll definitely be lower than it is this year, which would then lower people's annual taxes for the year. I reckon it to kind of an example that my business official used yesterday, which is if in 2018-19 there was 4 people sitting at the table having some apple pie and having to split that apple pie evenly, there would be 4 large slices of apple pie. Now with this large Silo Ridge on board, there are more people at the table, so there's smaller slivers of the pie, which is actually a good thing for our taxpayers this year.
And I guess, right, the important thing to look here at what's going on is, and we say this all over the time, voters sometimes take out their frustrations on school budgets. I know it happens over here in Connecticut, and I know it happens in Massachusetts, and it happens in New York as well, because they feel really it's the only budget that they have some control on. What I find interesting here is that you've got a budget, and it seems like you've had pretty much successful run here, but now that actually you have a business in town, and Silo Ridge is a business that is just beginning to really show the benefits of high value land. This is the opportunity To me, it appears that every school district in the country would love to have a chance to finally fund their schools and their fire departments in the way they properly should be funded.
Yeah, Marshall, that's correct. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword because that is a great opportunity for us this year. And as I said, strategically, we chose this year knowing that that would be the lion's share coming on board. We thought about going with a higher levy. We waited for that tax rate to come in, and by the time the tax rate came in, we had to set a budget. So we could have went a little higher, which would have given us a little bit more flexibility in some of our budget decisions. But we felt comfortable that the rate we were going to bring, again, which is a higher levy than usual, would be offset by this large parcel and this large business, as you say. The flip side of that is that New York State, and here's one for you, New York State considers, out of the 700 school districts in New York, the Webutuck Central School District as the 120th most wealthy school district, which couldn't be further from the truth.
That's unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, and that's based on land wealth and also income. And anyone who knows Webutuck knows that the income is not at the 120th highest in the state of New York. So it's a double-edged sword because that land wealth brings that number up. But at the same token, whenever you can take advantage of this type of opportunity where you see that taxes are going to go down and it can still fund a budget fairly to our taxpayers, that's something that we waited for, and we knew that this would be the year for it. So we're excited about that.
We're speaking with Ray Castellani, who's the superintendent of the Webutuck School District, taking a look at your propositions that the voters are going to vote on. There is the 2019 and 2020 budget, also the election of 2 board members, and authorizing transportation maintenance vehicles, 1 minivan, 1 pickup truck, and 1 Bobcat. Explain once again to people in Connecticut, but also people in your district, how this vote is broken down when people are voting.
Sure, there are going to be 3 propositions, and it's a 2-sided sheet. On one sheet, it will be the budget to vote yay or nay on, and that it's really important that people come out and vote for this budget because we're going over the tax cap and still having a lower tax rate eventually. We need a supermajority, so it means we need over 60% of people to approve this budget. Otherwise, we have to go back to the table, and that would mean devastation to programs in our district. On the flip side of that proposition, or that ballot, will be the 2 other propositions. We have 3 candidates running for 2 seats, and also the yay or nay on the authorization of the transportation maintenance vehicle. So there'll be 3 propositions for people to vote on.
You scratch your head, Ray. I know I scratch my head over here. I've been involved in supporting budgets and not supporting budgets over the years. And it seems like the only time people show up in big numbers is when they don't want to support a budget. And I've never understood that. I mean, because people are voting on millions of dollars, and they're voting on millions of dollars to educate the future of our country. And how is the turnout in Webutuck? Is it the same in Webutuck as it is over here in Connecticut?
It's fairly low. Again, we have a small population, but the numbers are fairly low with that turnout. And I understand completely how when people vote no because time's tough. They're trying to make ends meet, working more than one job at a time, making decisions on what to pay for, not to pay for. But for this budget, and again, over 5-year average of the last 5 years, our average has been under a 2% budget, even inclusive of this budget. So we feel very comfortable that we're trying to understand people's needs and the taxpayers' ability to pay for those taxes. At the same time, we have a program to run. We're producing students that are ready to move on to the workforce or to a 4-year or 2-year college or the armed forces. This year we have 3 students going into the armed forces. So we are providing students with opportunities to keep them competitive, and we need a passed budget in order to continue that.
Now, the important dates for people in New York State to look at are Monday, May 13th. That's when you have an annual public budget hearing at 7 o'clock, right?
That's correct.
And that's when you present the budget and people can ask questions again and comment on it?
That's formally, yes. They can ask any questions. They can call me up at the school district at 845-373-4100, or they can write to us on Facebook or email. But on the 13th at the high school at 7 o'clock will be the opportunity of that if they want to ask those questions again.
And then the budget vote itself will take place on Tuesday, May 21st.
That's correct, from 12 o'clock noon to 9 o'clock p.m. at the high school gymnasium.
And it's hard it's hard to stress how important it is and how hard it is as a superintendent, I think, for you to get the proper feeling of the community unless the community is actively involved in these budget presentations. I know we always hate it over here when budgets come up and people then vote no or complain, and they haven't been to one single budget hearing.
Yeah, it's almost as difficult as calling snow days or not calling snow days.
Yeah, no.
The only thing, Marshall, I can say is that is true, but this budget, again, strategically has chosen so that it does support our program and our students and takes into account the difficulty it's been for people to afford taxes, especially in New York State, but especially in our school district and communities. And this actually is the best of both worlds because it does support the program and students, and at the same time, strategically, it will lower taxes over the next in this budget session or in this tax session.
And once again, I want to hit home to something that I brought out in the beginning, and this is a very important fact, that right now you're paying a tax rate per $1,000 of $12.43 if you're paying taxes for school in the Webutuck School District. With this proposed budget, even though it's an increase in the budget, the proposed levy is actually looking more like $10.38 per thousand, which is a lowering of almost 20%. 20% when you take a look at it.
Yeah, and that's the average. It could be anywhere in between that number. It will definitely be lower than what they're paying currently right now.
And once again, if people want more information at this late time on the budget, once again, how do they get it from you and from the district?
Again, they can contact me at 845-373-4100. Follow the prompts, and they can bring you right to my direct line. There also is the opportunity to email me at raymond.castellani@webutuck.org. They can use our school district Facebook page, Webutuck Schools, our Central School District. There's so many opportunities. They can come to the office at 194 Haight Road, or they can invite me wherever they want to be. I will definitely be able to be available definitely the next 2 weeks to discuss this any further.
Right. Thanks for taking a few minutes and joining us this morning.
Marshall, thank you so much.
Once again, the Webutuck school budget vote. And more information, what you just heard, where you can get that information from.